is suing her former roommate's mother, dispatcher Christy Malden, for stealing her dog and the dog's puppies. Christy says Veronica is a neglectful pet owner.
Yes, case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Malden. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Lopez, it is your claim that the defendant, who is the mother of a former roommate of yours,
Yes.
stole your dog and her puppies, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $1,900.
Yes.
The defendant says that you neglected this dog, that she spent over $1,000 in vet bills putting the dog in a reasonable condition, and that she ultimately sold the puppies. We'll find out what you did with the dog. I understand that this was not the first time your dog had puppies, according to your complaint. Is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of a dog was it?
It was a Chipu, half Chihuahua, half Poodle.
Where did you get the dog from?
It was a Christmas gift to my daughter from her father for Christmas of 2002.
How many litters have you had with this dog?
This is the second one.
Who did you breed her with?
It was actually a situation where there was a dog, a poodle, that lived around my area. And I had a doggy door, and the dog was able to squeeze through my gate. And while I was at work, she got pregnant while I was at work.
So what you're telling me is you don't know really who the father was?
No, I do. I know the dog. I know the dog.
So it was an accident?
Yes.
Why didn't you have the dog spayed?
Because I figured that I had it fixed. I had intentions of doing it, but it happened too quickly.
Well, that doesn't happen too quickly, madam. You had to cut the dog as a puppy in December of 2002. Well, in 6 months, you had the dog spayed. And if you didn't have the dog spayed, then you know that you could run the risk of the dog having puppies.
Well, I had intentions of maybe breeding her, but I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did.
In August of 2004, she had her first litter?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that the first time that Miss Malden helped you?
Yes, that is correct.
And tell me about that.
Well, I was at work, and I had another roommate at the time. And when she let me know that our dog, Zoe, was going to have puppies, and that she didn't know what to do, so she contacted Christy to help her out.
Well, you told me she called you at work.
Well, she called me, right, to tell me, and
she called you at work, and what did you do, Miss Lopez?
I was going to come home, and she's like, I was going to come home. She said that she knows Heather. Heather's mom is good with dogs, so she's going to call Heather's mother and see if she would help her out. So she...
Why didn't you go home?
Because I was working, and I couldn't... I was... because I had... My roommate told me that she was able to handle it, so I didn't go home.
How many puppies were delivered in August 2004?
There were 4.
All born alive?
Yes, all of them.
All of them survive?
Yes.
Did you sell all 4?
I sold 2.
What happened to the other 2?
The other 2 is a sad story.
Well, let me hear. I'm interested in sad stories. 4 were born alive. You sold 2. What happened to the other 2?
Okay, well, my...
Let's get the story, please. Are the other 2 alive or dead?
No, they died.
When did they die?
They died about 2 months after they were, or a month and a half after they were born.
Were they in your custody when they died?
They were.
Had they been taken to a vet up until that time? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Okay. So now you have puppies that are 6 weeks old that you didn't know how to deliver. 2 of them died after they reached a month and a half old. So that was clearly your fault.
No. It wasn't.
What did they die from?
Well, okay, again, I had to go to work, and it was hot. It was in the summer. So my air conditioner broke, and my dog, it was, how do I explain this? Okay. It was really hot. My dog was, okay. I ended up putting, okay, I had a dog house outside on my patio, and I put my dog and the puppies outside at night because my air conditioner broke at night, and it was extremely hot. It was so extremely hot. Well, it was cooler night, so I put them outside, and again, my roommate and I agreed, that I would, that they would go outside. I'd go to work in the morning. She would go and take them and bring them back in the house. Well, I went to work, and she ended up sleeping in, and I guess two of the puppies crawled out of their doghouse, and they died.
So again, it was somebody else's fault?
No, it was not somebody else's fault. It was my fault.
Good. Okay, now you should have understood, Miss Lopez, that breeding dogs was not for you.
I wasn't breeding him. It was an accident. It wasn't something...
An accident happens once.
Okay.
Then you take the dog to have the dog spayed.
Right.
You did not.
No, I did not.
So the dog got pregnant again. Do you want to tell me how that happened?
It was by the same dog. And it was the same way.
Same dog, same way. And you did the same thing. You called the defendant.
I called her this time, yes.
I said you called the defendant.
Yes.
I read your complaint, and you called her and said what?
And I told her, you know, my roommate trusted that you helped deliver Zoe's first litter, and I was like, I need to go to work again. And I asked her if I could bring Zoe over so that she could assist in making sure that she was okay, because I realized that her water broke. And so she, you know, I asked her and she agreed. So I went over there and I dropped Zoe off, and I told her that I would come back and, you know, check up on the puppies.
Well, when did you come back?
I went to work, and then I came back the following day.
When did she have the puppies?
She had them that day.
What was the date?
It was January. It was about January 30th.
Is that the date?
Or so. It was
What's the date?
She brought them to my house on the 20th. She delivered the puppies the 21st in the evening.
She delivered the puppies on the 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
When did she come back?
Sunday.
Which is what date?
Well, that would be the 23rd.
3 days after she brought the dog to your house.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Lopez, between August of 2004, when your dog had the first litter,
right,
and January of 2005, how many vet visits did your dog have?
She had 2 vet visits.
You have the forms?
I don't have those.
What were the visits for?
It was just a checkup. That's it. Getting her shots, and that was it.
What's the name of the vet?
The vet, I don't have that information.
How many dogs do you have?
I only have 1 dog.
Well, if you only have 1 dog, then it's not a problem with remembering the name of the vet. You remembered what happened in August of 2004 pretty much verbatim.
Right.
So just the name of the doctor.
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you couldn't figure out that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Lopez says her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and Zoe's litter of puppies. Christy says Veronica has no right to be a pet owner.
Okay, Ms. Malden, the plaintiff brought the dog to your house on the 20th of January.
Yes.
You delivered how many puppies?
4.
Were you aware of the fact that the plaintiff was responsible for the death of 2 of the puppies that you had delivered the previous summer?
Yes, ma'am. I was very upset when I found that out.
After you delivered the 4 puppies, and they were all born alive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they all survive?
Yes.
What happened with Zoe?
When Veronica called me on the 20th, she asked me if I could watch the dog. And I said, yes, I'm homesick today, so that'd be fine. I'll watch her for you. And she brought her over, and she said, I think her water broke. And so I watched her, and the dog, her water didn't break, but she kept throwing up. So that happened throughout the whole day on Thursday. Friday, she was pretty much the same, but she delivered the puppies, started around 5:30 on the 21st in the evening. And she had a hard time with those, so I had to assist her in those, pulling the puppies out, because she's so small and so weak.
Somebody have a picture of this dog?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Here's one of the babies, too. That was when the puppies were 3 weeks old.
Okay. When did Zoe have to go to the vet?
Well, Sunday, Zoe started having diarrhea in the evening. By Monday, she was throwing up. I had put her in my bathroom with the babies and came back at lunch to check on them, and she was laying in both feces and nursing the puppies at the same time. I then called Veronica and let her know, the situation, told her they needed to be taken to the vet. And she
You
said,
remember that phone call?
Yes, I do.
Did you rush home to take her to the vet?
I told her that I was going to come by and pick up the dog.
Did you?
I did not. No, I did not, because she didn't explain to me or go into detail on what exactly was happening.
I mean, is there something thick? She's had your dog the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. She had the dog when the dog delivered the puppies, when the dog was vomiting, which she told you about. She had the dog when the dog had the puppies. Now she's calling you and saying, there's a problem. The dog has to go to the vet.
Right. See, I went to her house. It was 2 days after Zoe, or a day after Zoe had the puppies. I went over to her house to go visit my dog and the puppies.
I'm talking to you about the day she called you and said the dog is sick.
Right. But there's more that goes to that. And
How old's your daughter?
she is 5 years old.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a call from school and what's your daughter's name?
Alexis.
Alexis. Alexis is sick. You have to come and get her.
Yes.
And you go after work?
And yes, I do.
You go after work. You say, you just hold her there. I'll be there when I can get there.
Yes, I do. I get off. No, I apologize. No, I don't tell her to hold on there. I get out of work and I go get my daughter. I apologize. I was mistaken.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
That's what this lady said. She said this dog is very ill and has to go to the vet.
I understand that.
What do you understand, Miss Lopez? What you have to understand at your age is you got enough on your plate without a dog.
Yeah.
You got enough on your plate taking care of yourself. Now you got enough on your plate taking care of yourself and a 5-year-old. You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you had 4, 2 you lost, and 2 more you had, because you couldn't figure out that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that. You didn't use your brains to think about spaying the dog when you were supposed to. The dog got pregnant, had puppies. Because of your neglect, 2 died. So it would seem to me somebody in their right mind would say, listen, I better have this dog spayed now or move to a house that didn't have a doggy door. Not you. You kept the dog. You kept the doggy door, and what do you know? Neighbor's dog comes in again, and once again your dog is pregnant. And you are running to work. So you call somebody else to clean up after you.
Well, I was working, and she called me and she told me she had already taken her to the vet.
No.
This was after the conversation.
No. You said, I'll be there.
Right.
Did you leave work?
No, I did not leave work.
What time do you get off from work?
Sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon.
Your Honor.
So you had no intention of going over there?
No, I did.
Did you go and say, I have to leave work? Like,
Veronica Lopez claims her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and gave away Zoe's litter of puppies.
what was the vet bill for Zoe?
It was $1,900.
Can I see what they had to do with the dog, please?
$1,009.88. Those are the doctor's notes.
They had to give your dog an IV catheter replacement, fluid therapy, fluid additives, plasma transfusion.
She had to have a
Dog
blood
was
transfusion.
hospitalized, spayed.
The dog was severely malnutritioned.
A dog that is malnutrition doesn't have 4 healthy puppies. My dog was well loved.
Tubman may concern. Zoe is a 2-year-old female terrier. She had given birth 2 days prior. She had been vomiting throughout the day and was in a moribund state. She had a fever, a life-threatening low blood calcium, and had lost 1/2 of her red blood cells. Saving her life required 4 days of hospitalization, a blood transfusion, a plasma transfusion, and abdominal surgery to remove her uterus that was continuing to bleed postpartum.
And I'm not denying any of that information. I know that my dog needed help. But the thing is, okay, the first day I went to Miss Malden's house to go look at my dog and the puppies, I saw that they were in good care. I did. I saw that they were in great care. And I mentioned to Heather, for your mom doing, this good deed and whatever, I want to offer her one of the puppies. The first thing that she mentioned was that my mom doesn't want one of the puppies, she wants Zoe.
Well, because Zoe was the neglected one. Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully, madam.
Yes.
Did you pay her the $1,000 that she spent at the vet?
No, because I didn't have $1,000, and that was...
Well, you didn't have $1,000. Where did she get $1,000 from?
She didn't, and that's not... I told her, okay, after she mentioned that, the next day, the following day, after I had the conversation with Miss Malden, at work. She told me she was going to take her to the vet, and I told her that I was going to go ahead and take care of it. I was going to take Zoe to the vet myself.
A vet whose name you can't remember. Did you give her back the $1,000? She paid the bill. The answer is
no.
No. Good. Where are the puppies?
I sold them after they turned 6 weeks old.
Okay. How much did you get for the puppies?
I got $300 for 2 of them, $200 for 2 of them, and then I sold Zoe for $300.
Who did you sell Zoe to?
I don't know who they were. I did screen the homes, though.
I don't know if I believe that, Miss Morgan.
I don't, really, I don't.
I read the complaint. I read your answer. And I am, quite frankly, sympathetic with your position. But legally, you had no right to sell her dog. You understand that?
Yes.
She has no right to have a dog.
This is correct.
She doesn't know how to take care of them.
Right.
She's neglectful. She has a very full plate. And she has no right to act irresponsibly.
Right.
She caused the death of 2 puppies. She almost caused the death of Zoe because of her neglect, and she was perfectly happy to have somebody else pick up the slack for her. She is not a person who's responsible enough to have a pet.
Right.
But that doesn't give you the legal right to dispose of her dog. So the only thing that I have to come up with is, what are Miss Lopez's damages? Because for every lawsuit, there has to be damage.
Yes, ma'am.
I've already decided that legally you had absolutely no right to dispose of her dog.
Well, Your Honor.
Don't say anything to me.
Can I just...
Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully. I've just told you that the defendant had absolutely no right to legally
but
to
she was
sell
already
your dog.
trying to convince me to give up my dog.
Absolutely. Because you have no right to have a dog.
No.
Listen, I just told you, there isn't enough up here to take care of yourself. You have yourself and you have a 5-year-old daughter. You have no right adding to your plate a helpless animal that requires somebody else to do a little thinking for it, like spaying it so it doesn't become pregnant twice in 1 year, not taking puppies in out of the sun when it's 90 degrees outside, needs somebody else to think about taking care of them. You don't have that kind of time. I give you credit for working 2 jobs. I give you credit for being a single mom and taking care of a 5-year-old and working to take care of yourself. You have no right to have a dog. You don't have time. You don't have time to make that commitment. And the only thing is, I have to figure out what your damages were. She took over your dog. She had, on a dollar profit, she had $300 that she made, in addition to what she spent on your dogs at the vet. But she also took care of your dog and your puppies for 8 weeks, where you did zippo. No, I'm speaking zippo. Nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, her time in taking care of your pets have to be worth something. If your puppies were with you and you had to tube feed them for 2 weeks, you would have had to take off from work to do that. Otherwise, you would have neglected them and turned them over to your roommate, who let 2 of them fry out in the sun, which would have been an unsatisfactory resolution. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I believe I was in the wrong for selling Zoe.
22-year-old Amy Freshley is suing former friend Herman Velasquez for rental car charges and for damages to the vehicle. Herman claims he owes Amy nothing.
Miss Freshley, you had an automobile accident.
Yes.
You knew the defendant, who was a mechanic, and you entered into an agreement with him that he would fix your car.
Right.
And according to you, your agreement was that the car would be ready in a week or 5 days. If it went over that, he was going to compensate you for the rental car.
Exactly.
Now, the car wasn't ready on time. He was supposed to pay for the additional days.
Right.
In addition to that, it is your claim that he took the rental car.
Exactly.
Which, for some reason, you left at his shop, drove it, and caused damage to it, and you were being charged by Enterprise Rental Car for the damage that you ascribed to him.
Exactly.
Okay. The car you were in an accident with was a 95 Tahoe?
Yes.
Is that your car?
Yes.
Alone?
Me and my boyfriend's car.
Who purchased it?
We both did.
You have insurance?
Yes.
Did the insurance pay for the accident?
Yes.
How much?
$4,045.
Who did they pay that to?
Paid it to me and my boyfriend.
Did you take the money?
I took the money and paid Herman $2,800.
They paid you $4,000 for something that he fixed for $2,800?
Yep.
And it never dawned on you to take the rest of the money and give it back to them?
They didn't ask for it back.
they said they wouldn't pay for the rental, so I figured I'd use also some of that for a rental because I wouldn't have a car for a week.
Okay. So let us say he took the car, which you acknowledge. He took the car.
Yeah.
Don't acknowledge that you had an accident with it or that you damaged it.
No.
But you acknowledge you took it.
Yeah.
So let's say $2,800 is what he charged you for the car.
Yes.
Plus you say that he should be responsible $340 for the additional days that the car was rented when he
Yes.
didn't have it fixed on time.
Yes.
Right? Plus $340. Plus $701 for damage to the car.
Yes.
That's $3,841. Did you have any other expenses by virtue of this accident that you had?
No.
Well, my calculations are that you're still ahead $200 from what you scammed out of the insurance company. You expect me to give you more money? What are you looking at me? Am I speaking some sort of a foreign
No,
language
I just
that you don't understand?
expected to be paid for a car that I rented, and he said he'd pay for the extra week.
You didn't pay for the extra week. Your insurance company did. Think of it this way. On what date did you have the accident? March 29th?
Yes.
March 29th. On March 29th, you started off with a car that was in good running order.
Yes.
Right? And zero in the bank. On April 15th, you had $4,045 in the bank from the insurance company.
Yes.
2 weeks later, you had your car back, you had rented a car, and you still have an extra $200 in your bank. Now, what you want me to do is give you the extra $200, plus you want him to pay you $1,100.
Yes, I will.
That means that at the end of this accident, you have your car
It doesn't
and an
matter what
extra $1,300. Insurance isn't supposed to make you rich, madam. It is supposed to compensate you for your damage.
But that wasn't the deal when I had rented.
The deal that you entered into with your insurance
have something
company is to
saying
be
that
an
he would
honest
pay for
insured. I'm speaking. The deal that you entered into with your insurance company is that if you had an accident, they were going to compensate you for the reasonable cost of having your car fixed. And the reasonable cost of you having your car fixed was $2,800.
That's because he told me that's how much it was going to cost.
So why didn't you tell that to the insurance company?
I did. He actually wrote up something higher than what he was going to charge me.
And did you tell the insurance company that he did
No.
that? Let me tell you all about the doctrine of clean hands. The doctrine of clean hands is something that we learned very early on in law school. It says that when a citizen comes into court and asks the court to hear their case, they can't come in with dirty hands, which means they can't come in being wrong, scamming somebody and saying, well, he's a worse scammer than I am. Why won't you help me? What he did was worse. I had a deal with him. We had a deal that he was going to jack up the cost of fixing the car. He was going to have the adjuster come to his place and say it needs this and this and this and this and this. And he was going to get $2,800 to fix it, and I was going to end up pocketing the rest, which was $1,000 or whatever. And the only one that was going to be out is the insurance company, and they got plenty of money anyway.
Well, I paid
So, madam, you get from me nothing. Zippo, nada, except a lesson in morality. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, it's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all. Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is, if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, you and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir? Look at me.
There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
you
the
don't
effect.
remember, so let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number, do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of 06? Mm-hmm. And when did you meet your husband? Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice?
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
Called the number.
No. Other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make the phone calls?
Me?
You?
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there, and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had some against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin.
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there.
I went over there and
Look at me, Mr. Childress.
wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom?
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay.
It's
All right, do you remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according
Yeah,
to
I
you.
wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover. Yes, when he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up, actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night, then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
Later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bedroom. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, do you know who I am? I said, yeah. He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck for about 3 weeks, which caused me
Not going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Okay. Now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Childress. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him. It's not like he just came in there just to beat me up.
I assume you called the police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I assume
also
the police,
threatened me not to do.
Quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings?
Yes, Your Honor.
And they did nothing?
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
You have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, you maybe you're a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury. And you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever, suck it up. Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Melanie Clegg claims ex-boyfriend Newell Olmsted owes for rent and a television. Newell claims he's already paid his debt.
Mr. Olmsted, the plaintiff indicates in her complaint that you purchased a television set while the two of you were together, and you lived together for a period of time. You separated, and Ms. Clegg indicates that you separated because she found out some things that she didn't know about you. Does that be a fair statement? Mm-hmm. You have the television set. The payments for that television set was still outstanding when she left. It was some $1,200 left.
It was $1,257.
And on whose credit was it purchased?
Mine.
You got the TV?
Yes, ma'am.
You want the TV?
It's my TV, yeah.
It's not your TV unless you pay for it.
I did pay for it.
Show me.
I put...
What date did you separate?
We separated in December.
December 2009?
2008.
Okay. After December of 2008, she says that when you separated, there was $1,257 still owing.
There was only $1,000 owed on it, and I transferred that money into her account in January. 2 transactions from my account to her account for $500 each a transaction. She didn't pay it off in time. Then the interest kicked in. There's 2 transactions. There's one on the first day. There's actually 3 transactions to her account equaling $1,500. The third one was for a credit card that she said I owed her $500 on, so I paid that as well.
Okay, explain that to me.
He did transfer money into my account. It was for a credit card that he had. on my name because he didn't have good credit, so he could not get any credit in his name.
Well, how much was owed on the credit card at the
There
time?
was $400. The balance was $1,000. There's $400 charge, and it says on her attorneys for his divorce. And he also owed me for his child's dentist that I was paying, which I have proof here also that I was paying.
I'm not getting so involved in this complicated case. You understand that?
Yes. And
I
then,
want to
okay.
know how much was owed on this credit card when you separated in December.
$1,062.
Take a look at this, sir.
All that one is the $400.
The only thing on this that I owe was $400, and I paid her $500.
$404.
She paid my retainer for my attorney for my divorce with this credit card, okay?
How much?
She paid $400.
Yes.
I paid her $500 for the interest. So I transferred $500. There's 3 transactions there of $500 apiece.
And so what you're telling me is none of those other transactions on that credit card are yours?
I mean, no.
Look carefully.
That's only 1 month statement.
That's dinner.
Only, I wasn't trying to get for that credit card. I was just saying
Can I
that
talk?
some of it.
She asked me.
No. Listen to me, Miss Clegg, very carefully. I see he transferred $1,500 to you at the end of December and the beginning of January.
$1,500?
Yeah. 3 payments of $500, 2 on January 7th and 1 on January 21st.
I did not get those transactions.
Those are my bank records from my bank account to her bank account. So I don't know how she couldn't have got them.
Miss Clegg, I just need your checking account for the months of December and January.
Here we go.
December 2008, January 2009.
Do you want the withdrawals or just the deposits that he had given me?
The statement. You should have it. Transfer from. I have 1 January 7th for $500 that you did, in fact, get. There is only 1 on January 7th for $500, sir, not 2.
Oh, you know, as Clegg L, that's a different account. I transferred that because she said that she needed to put it into a savings account. So
Just a second.
Okay.
You have 2 that you've outlined on January 7, both to Clegg M.
Okay.
She only received 1, but they're 2 different numbers. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there's 2 bank accounts. I mean, one of them was a savings.
Whoa. Wait a second. How many different bank accounts do you have?
I have 2 savings, and I have 1, which the L is my mother.
That's where you told me to transfer it to.
No. I have are 2 different savings account numbers.
Yes, I do. I have 2 accounts. I have
2
that's
different
my mom's,
savings
and I have
accounts.
2 other savings accounts.
Show me those 2 savings accounts.
I can show you on the internet. I don't have anything with that
Don't
because
show me on the internet.
Yeah, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Well,
to
then
do.
you take a look at these.
Okay. Yeah, Clegg L is my mother, not me.
I just put it in the account she told me to put it in.
You owe my mother money.
Oh, now I owe her mother money.
No, I believe you. Mr. Olmsted.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you gave her $1,500. She says she only received 1 payment of $500. That's a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
She received 3 payments of $500. 2 went into her savings accounts and 1 went into her checking account.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe that he only gave you 1 payment of $500. Now,
One of the Clegg L is my mom.
I don't care.
But that goes towards the TV?
His defense is that he gave you money after he moved out. Some of it was for his credit card, for his lawyer, and some of it was for the TV, $1,000 for the TV, which at that time, that's what was owed on the TV, which he paid for. He said the fact that you didn't make the payment on it and it went up to $1,200 is not his problem. If I believe him, then he doesn't owe you any money for the TV.
I put $1,000 down on that TV too, which I have proof of.
I don't care. TV, listen to me. All I'm concerned about is whether when you moved out there was any money due and owing on the television that he kept. And there was.
Yes.
And I find that he paid you for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you, what you say you loaned him for rent.
Yes.
Now I'll hear what you say you loaned him for rent. After you broke up, after you moved out, go.
I paid $2,600 to rent. He came to me in January of 2009 and asked me if I could help him because he could not afford it and it would not look good in his divorce if he didn't have a place to stay. So I paid in January 2nd, I believe it is, I paid $995, which he was planning on paying me after his divorce. And
just a minute. Put your hand down. I saw it. Didn't you see me looking at you?
Well, I'm just making sure you saw me.
I couldn't miss it. Now, first show me proof that you gave him $2,600.
Okay. Here's that one, 2, 3.
Don't give him anything. What are you showing me here?
The withdrawals out of the account were the rent for his house. That's a Wells Fargo account. It goes into a Bank of America account. And I had cash so that it wasn't the exact same amount every single month because I was...
Did she give you any money towards rent?
She didn't give me any money. She paid, I mean, yes, she did go pay the rent for us.
When?
January, February, March, but she received half the rent from him, so I don't know why she pulled out
On 1
$900.
month.
Shh. January, February, March. Now, she was not living with you then.
No, she moved out in December. Just stuck us with everything, just moved out.
And who were you living with at that time?
He moved in, or he decided to stay to help me with the rent since she moved out.
Was this apartment in both your names or just your name?
It was just in my name, but we lived there together, yes.
Did you move in together or did she move in?
Yes. We moved in together in December of 08, and she moved out in December of 08.
Where had you been living before?
We had a house that we rented. We wanted to get into a cheaper place, so we got into a place that was $300 less a month.
When you lived in the house, were you sharing expenses?
Yes.
And why did you move out in December?
Because he was with my sister's best friend.
Well, that's a very good reason to leave.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Even if she thinks it, it's a very good reason to leave.
It is true, but the reason we split up is because she cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
Okay.
I don't actually care about that. All I want to know is she moved out, the lease is in solely your name.
Yes.
And would you tell me why she paid any of the rent for January, February, and March?
She was helping me out, like she said. You know, I didn't have...
She was helping you?
Yes.
Why, if she was furious with you, because that's what she says, she was furious with you.
I didn't say she was furious.
Why? She says.
She says she's furious. I didn't. Why?
No. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Why would somebody who is furious with you, she says she was furious with you, give you money?
That baffles me.
I wouldn't give you a penny.
I wouldn't either.
Because she found out about him being together with her friend.
Listen, go get your 15 minutes someplace else, but don't shout out here.
I'm not trying to get 15 minutes. I'm just trying to state facts.
I don't want you to state anything unless I ask you to.
I raised my hand earlier and I didn't get a turn.
Excuse me.
But tell him not to go far in case I need him.
Will do.
I'm pretty sure we'll need him.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just as long as she knows that he's here. The gentleman, Motormouth, who was here a moment ago, did he give you any money?
No.
Towards rent?
He gave me 0.
You never got any money from him?
From him, no. If it came from his account, I don't know where the money came from.
Did you get any money?
That $500 that I put on there that says Tim's half of rent on that page, yes, that's the $500 of Tim's half of rent.
Who is Tim?
Motormouth.
Motormouth.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that money.
That's it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So you got $500 of the 26 that you gave him, which means you're out $2,100.
If that's what, can I ask
you're
you
out
something?
$2,100.
Can I ask you something? Is that going towards the TV?
Forget the TV. The TV's over. I've already made a judgment on the
but
TV.
if you're accounting that $500 transferred from his account that you see out of Newell Olmstead's account into my account, the $500.
I thought it was from him.
It's out of Newell Olmstead's account.
Oh, well, you can't use that same $500, Mr. Olmsted, 10 times.
I'm not.
You can only use it once.
Tim gave her...
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You might be a very, very nice man and have many redeeming qualities. You're not George Clooney. Nobody who's not living with you, sir, is going to pay $2,600 for your rent. Not somebody that looks like that. Do you understand? Take a good look. Somebody that looks like that is not going to pay $2,600 for your rent after she's already broken up with you.
I agree.
But that's what she did.
No, she did not. Tim paid her $450. His part of the rent, he paid her. So that's not true. Yes, she helped
I don't
me.
believe that. And I don't believe Motormouth.
Okay.
I don't believe you should have had nothing to do with her. After you separated, you should have nothing to do with her. How come she gave you money? Did you call her and tell her that you needed money for rent?
I asked her to help me with rent. Yes,
good. You owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
26-year-old Crystal Quint is suing the father of her son, Aaron Steele, for more than $2,000 in credit card charges.
Miss Quint, how old are you?
26.
Have you ever watched my courtroom on television?
Yes, I have.
For how many years?
Many.
How many is many?
Probably 10.
And in the 10 years you've been watching, how the proceedings go here and what the litigants are like. Didn't it ever impress you that whenever you give money to a guy, you always get the short end of the stick?
Yes.
You thought you were different.
Yes.
And you thought he was different.
Yes.
They all think they're different. They're all the same.
I know that now.
You have a child with him?
Yes, I do.
How old?
He'll be 3 next month.
How many times did Mr. Steele propose marriage to you?
Once.
When?
January 1st of 2007.
And what did you say to him?
Yes. But it only lasted 5 days.
Just a second. You said yes?
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, we were engaged, and then 5 days later, I broke it off.
Why?
Because I found out a huge lie.
A huge lie?
Yes.
But you continued to see him?
Yes.
And you gave him a lot of money?
Yes, I did.
And you gave him a credit card?
No, I did not. I did not give him the card. I used the card.
You let him charge things on the card?
Only for his car.
And he promised to pay you?
Yes, he did.
And he didn't pay you?
Correct.
That was another lie?
Yes.
After you broke off your engagement with him because of a really huge lie. Now, what part of different from all the other people that you saw over 10 years did you think he was? Okay, Mr. Steele's defense is that's what couples do for each other. She gave me money, and that's what couples do for each other.
Yeah, that's what couples do for each other. They help each other out.
Okay, Mr. Steele. Well, you helped her out, and she became pregnant, right? Yes. And now you have a 3-year-old child, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your only child?
No.
How many other children do you have?
I have one other.
How old?
He's 6.
Are you married to his mother?
No.
You just like to make them, right?
Yeah.
Now, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Steele?
Construction.
And
He's
how much
not working right
shut
now.
up! Do I look like I need help? You're in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a child support order for Miss Quint's baby?
Yes.
How much?
It hasn't been settled yet.
Well, the child's 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 years, have you lived together?
No.
How much child support have you paid?
I haven't paid any child support.
Well, then I'm trying to figure out what you do for her as a couple.
I paid bills that I had to
Tell
pay
me.
when I was working.
No. Just tell me, in the last 2 years, what bills did you pay for her?
Rent, cable.
Just a minute. Rent? You paid her rent when?
2007.
When in 2007, sir?
Like January, February. I helped pay rent every month.
For how long?
The whole time I was living there.
When you weren't living there.
I didn't pay anything.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. In the last 2 years, you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't set a child support order yet, but that doesn't mean anything. The child is not, you don't put him in a vacuum for 2 years. The child eats, has clothes, has medical, has all kinds of other expenses. I want to know how much you pay Miss Quint. I assume the child is with her.
Yes.
How much do you pay for your child?
Nothing.
Why?
I don't have the money, even
Who
if I did
cares
want to
whether
pay.
you have the money or not? I don't care whether you have the money or not. Is it a boy or a girl that you have in this Quint?
It's a boy.
Your son doesn't care whether you have the money or not. He has to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And how much money do you send for your 6-year-old?
None.
You think that he lives on love too?
I hope.
I hope. You're a bum. You're a bum who spends a lot of money on his own jewelry. You think that I think you're cute? I don't. You may get young ladies like this who think that you're adorable. I guarantee you, to me, you look like nothing but a bum. Now, what did you take money from her for in 2008? You needed to have your truck fixed. And how much did that cost?
Well, it was my car.
I don't care whether it was a truck or a car. It had 4 wheels, not 2, smart Alec. Let's go. How much did it cost?
About $4,500.
And who paid for it?
Crystal Quint did.
From what money?
On her credit card.
And how did you think that that was going to get paid?
Monthly payments.
By whom?
We were a couple.
You weren't a couple in 2008. You told me that you moved out in 2007. You weren't a couple. Couples who have children together live together. You weren't living with her in 2008.
I didn't plan on paying anything back to her.
Well, that's a big mistake. Should have saved your money from K Jewelers and put a little money towards your car and spent a little more money on the children that you made. Did he pay you back any of this money, Miss Quint?
He paid a total of $141.
You have 2 children, right?
I only have 1.
You have 1. He has 2.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
I work for a pet shop in Las Vegas.
How long have you been working for them?
Since the moment I moved to Las Vegas, so a little over 3 years.
You live by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Who takes care of your son?
I do, 100%.
He's in daycare when you're working?
No, actually, he comes with me, and my mom comes picks him up.
You sued him for support?
I'm in the process right now.
You waited too long.
I know.
He doesn't do anything unless he has to.
I know that now. That's why I did the child support order, is because I've asked him for money, and he won't send me
He's
anything.
a bum. Bums don't do what they're supposed to do. If you have 2 children, you collect cans in the street in order to send them something, because somehow he's eating, right?
Yes.
And he's got a roof over his head, right?
At his grandpa's, yes.
Somehow he's surviving. Don't let me hear that you're back with him again.
Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all.
5-year-old Suzanne Hiller is suing her ex-husband, Patrick King, for her lost wages after their daughter broke her leg.
That's case number 398 on the calendar in the matter of Hiller versus King. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Hiller, you used to be married to Mr. King. You have 1 child together, is that right?
Yeah.
Child is now 6?
7.
7. Sometime last year, Mr. King was enjoying visitation with his daughter, and she had an accident and broke her leg. And you stayed home to take care of her. You weren't working at the time, having lost your job about a week before this accident. You claim that you asked Mr. King to give you extra money for the purposes of having somebody come to the house and watch your daughter while you went out to look for a job, and he refused. So you want your husband to compensate you for the time you spent home taking care of your daughter.
Correct.
Doesn't that sound ridiculous to you?
No, there's a little bit more to this story.
Well, that's the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that during the period of this visitation, there was an accident when she broke her leg. How did it happen, Mr. King?
She had to use the restroom, and she had a friend over, and typically she waits a little too long sometimes, and she was in a hurry to get to the restroom. She was wearing socks, brand new sparkly socks, which were really slippery, and she was running across the tile floor with her friend in chase behind her, and when she rounded the corner, she slipped and fell, and she's been told,
Whatever. It's an accident. Now, Miss Hiller, is there anything that you know that suggests that this is not the way your daughter broke her leg? After all, she was 6 years old, so I'm sure you asked her. And she said she was running and she fell. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But the story's changed. Now, I heard that she...
No, just don't look at him. Look at me.
Okay. I heard that she was running on the tile in the kitchen, playing with her friend, and he was in the bathroom. My daughter
What difference does it make?
Because
I mean, you're not suggesting that Mr. King caused the injury, that it was anything other than an accident.
I'm sure it was an accident.
Right. Now, has your daughter ever been to an emergency room other than this incident?
No.
Has she ever seen the doctor on an emergency basis?
No.
Has she ever gotten a very bad cold or sore throat?
No.
Nothing. So she is a miraculous 7-year-old who has never been ill.
She's very healthy.
I didn't ask you if she was very healthy or not. I had a whole bunch of children, and they were always sick. Children go to school, they get sick. They go to nursery school, they get sick. They play with their friends, they fall down, they need a stitch, and they break an arm, or they sprain a wrist. That's what happens with children. That's not his fault. That's an accident. Now, why do you think that he should compensate you for taking care of your own child?
Because I had actually just lost my job. She had broken her leg on a Sunday, and I had lost my job on that Friday. So it had only been literally a couple of days. I got a phone call from him on that Sunday, which was the 5th of December, saying that it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I don't care. You have to understand something. I don't care about that. I don't care about the call and she broke her leg and I didn't take her to the doctor right away. It doesn't make any difference to me. He's her father. Accidents happen. She broke her leg. You're her mother. You're her primary custodian. You stayed home and took care of her. Aside from the fact you weren't working. I want to know under what theory you believe that your former husband should compensate you for taking care of your own child.
I was unable to collect any sort of money at that time. I had no way to work because I didn't have anybody to watch my daughter. She was in a cast for almost 6 months.
So what does that have to do with him?
She was out of school for about 4 of it.
What does that have to do with him?
He wouldn't watch her. I would ask him to come over.
Just a second. Is it true that you wouldn't watch your daughter?
No, I tried to see her, actually tried to take her for regular visitation, and she wouldn't allow me to. Because she said she couldn't use her crutches, she didn't want her out of the house on her cast. Numerous other excuses, but I was denied the right to see her.
Ms. Hiller, is that true?
That's not true.
You mean he asked you to come and pick her up and you said you can come and pick her up and he didn't?
He wouldn't. I would ask him, I said, can you please come over?
Not come over.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about coming over to your house. I'm talking about coming, picking up his daughter and taking her to his house.
He wouldn't. He actually had the opportunity once. He was going to come once because it took a while for her to actually not be sedated because she was heavily sedated because of the severity of the break. I have a copy of the X-ray if you'd like to see it.
I would not. Are you telling me that a 6-year-old child was heavily sedated for more than a day or two?
It was probably about 3 weeks. She was on codeine.
I don't know what kind of a doctor you used keeping a 6-year-old on codeine. In any event, Miss Hiller, your former husband says that the reason you're here, the reason that you decided to sue him after all of this time, is because you had made a request. And that request was to send your daughter to live with some relatives for 10 months while you went back to school. Did you ask him to permit you and to amend your agreement and the court order of visitation to allow your daughter to go and live with relatives?
She was going to stay there for 2 months.
Stay where for 2 months?
St. Louis, Missouri. That's where my mother and father live, who she goes and visits every summer.
You asked your former husband if she could go to St. Louis. During what months?
It was the months of September, October, November.
That's school time. Where was she going to go to school?
My family was going to put her in school out there.
And he said no?
He said yes at first, and then he said no.
I never said yes. No way.
Mr. King, I have a sense that Miss Hiller has a problem with truth-telling.
You have a good sense, Your Honor.
That's totally incorrect.
Miss Hiller, he shouldn't even be asked if he will give up his daughter for 3 months for your convenience. That shouldn't be something that you should even consider. If you want to go to school, if you want to go on vacation, if you want to go trekking all over the world, you say to him, would you like, what's your daughter's name?
Ashlyn.
Ashlyn to come to live with you for the next 3 months or
I've been
6 months?
that.
Quiet.
Sorry.
I would like you to take Ashlyn for 3 months or 6 months because I want to go back to school. Whatever reason it was that you were going to send her to visit, to live, not visit, live with your parents. Because once she goes to live with your parents and they enroll her in school, that's not a visit. Did you ask Mr. King if he would be willing to take his daughter while you go back to school?
No.
Why not?
Because he's neglectful.
He is not neglectful, madam. You don't have a choice. If you want to send your daughter to live elsewhere, the first person who has the right to have custody of her is her father. Somebody that you picked, you married, and you chose to have a child with. And if you don't like that, that's too bad. But he's not a second-class citizen. If you want to go back to school, she goes to live with her father, not your parents 1,000 miles away. That's outrageous. And after he said no is when you filed this lawsuit. Outrageous. And I suggest that you not go to family court to seek permission for you to relocate your daughter, because Mr. King is going to get a copy of this tape, and your motivations are going to be quite clear.
But those are not my motivations.
You have no right to send your daughter to live with your parents to go to school when she has a parent here. If you are unwilling and unable to take care of her, then she goes to live with her father, not your parents, not your sister, not your cousin, not your aunt, not your godmother. She goes to live with her father, who says, I'm more than willing to take care of her if you don't want her in your custody.
I just feel he doesn't take care of her.
That's not your decision to make. You chose him as a mate, and you chose him as a father of your child. And I don't believe you when you say your daughter has never been sick, because she would be the only child in creation who has not had an ear infection, a bad cold, a fever. The only one that I know of. I have 5 children, 11 grandchildren. All of them had been sick. And I got news for you. They have wonderful parents, at least as good as you. So when you say she's very healthy, never been sick, I don't believe you.
She's had the flu.
Oh.
But she's never been to the doctor because of an
Well,
accident,
if you didn't take, just a second, if you didn't take her to the doctor and she had the flu, you're a neglectful parent. Because if flu, you have a big fever. Then you call the doctor and you check it. And if you didn't, you're neglectful. See how easy that is? You don't think you're a neglectful parent, do you? He's not neglectful because his child broke her leg while visiting with him. It was an accident. Get over it. And if you can't take care of her because you want to go to school, you have to say to her father, I can't manage her and my school. Will you take her while I'm in school? And if you choose not to do that, then she stays with you. But you don't retaliate by bringing a lawsuit against him. That's outrageous.
But I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I had asked him for money earlier. I had asked him for to help me with daycare.
You didn't bring the lawsuit until after he said, I'm not consenting to your sending her to St. Louis.
We had made other arrangements.
Just a second. Okay. You have no right to ask him that. You have no right to be angry at him when he says no. This child has two parents, a mother and a father. And the Supreme Court of every state in this country says that you have no greater right to custody, unless a court says so, than her father does. He is not a second-class person. And you better think about that. Maternal grandparents don't have a greater right to custody than a child's father. Did you ever go to a hospital when you were a child?
I did.
For what? For what?
I think I put something up my nose.
You put something up your nose. Where were you when you put something up your nose?
I was with my mother.
Your mother. Did they take you away from her and make you a ward of the state?
No.
It was an accident, right?
Yeah, I actually
was she not?
put it
Just
up
a
my
second.
nose.
Was she watching you carefully? Was she supervising you? If she wasn't supervising you adequately, maybe you should have gone to live with somebody else. Maybe your grandparents. It was an accident. Do you understand? Get over it. Case is dismissed.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise. Now it's case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Aseltine Ireland versus Neese. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Aselton?
Aseltine is my mother.
Miss Aseltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Aseltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. It seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing, uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And
her response was, bang. I don't bang. Bang, I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay, well, apparently, you know, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Neese never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy.
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then,
heard you.
she then.
You have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, you know, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, you know, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, you know, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, you know, things seemed to be okay then, but she was still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym, and I received a message from Miss Neese. And on the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, you know, I didn't
Just
understand.
tell me what happened. Don't
okay, so
tell
I
me what
called
you
her
were
up,
thinking.
and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, and was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, "Don't touch my mom." And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Neese, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our
What
lease.
difference does that make? She already said, I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
Yeah, I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Shh, don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room because I was afraid they were going to come in again." I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. All the bruises, they hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
You make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Neese in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits and so forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there? 1 as a plaintiff and 1 as a defendant?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, you know, my income. But with regard to this...
I'm not talking about... I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, you know, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
One was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, you know, I don't believe that I owe her the security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit.
Okay.
You told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according to
and
the Miss Neese. According to the police,
the only person assaulted by her and her daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had to pull them off of me.
And the police department.
When
I'm speaking. When I'm speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaultive, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Miss Neese. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May not be what they gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that
And
she bit you in the arm, and she
a
says she bit
bruise
you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police department.
What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into it. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave
said
you notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time
Yeah.
this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do...
Well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do. But when I rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented,
right.
Set their
And she said
guidelines,
I didn't.
And I honored them. So if she didn't want to...
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. That's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It was $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No,
yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend as roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
How does that excuse you may step out?
Ray Wood claims ex-girlfriend Mindy Golden had him falsely arrested for burglary. Mindy is countersuing, claiming Ray made false allegations to Child Protective Services.
Mr. Wood, this lady used to be your girlfriend, and I would assume that the person standing on your side is your brother. Is that right?
Yes.
It is your claim, Mr. Wood, that the defendants falsely reported that you were burglarizing their home, causing you to be arrested. You spent money on attorneys, and you want to be compensated for their false reporting of this burglary. Miss Golden and her brother say that you actually were in their home without permission, which is a burglary. They say that you retaliated by calling Child Protective Services and claiming that the two of them were using drugs in front of their children, in front of your children.
Yes.
And in addition, Ms. Golden is counterclaiming because she says because of your action, she was fired from her job. She wants to be compensated for her lost wages. When did this unholy alliance begin?
June 2004.
Did you live together?
No.
Ever?
No.
Did you ever stay over?
Occasionally.
How many times a week, Mr. Wood?
Once, maybe twice.
Did you have a key?
At one time, yes.
Would you occasionally go over to the house and answer my question? I don't want you to think of where I'm going, Mr. Wood. All I want you to do is try to tell me the truth.
Okay.
The truth will set you free.
Okay.
Did you ever go over to the house and wait for her to come home?
Yes.
Went into the house by yourself?
Yes.
That happened frequently?
No.
In the course of the year and a half that you were together, did it happen 10 times?
No.
Happened 5 times?
Maybe. Yes.
When you went over there and neither she nor her, prior to February of 2006, did anybody report that you were in the house without permission?
No.
Did you ever take anything that you weren't supposed to?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened on February 17th, 2006.
It was about 7 o'clock in the evening, 7:15. I was in Binghamton, and I got a call from Mindy stating that her brother had caught me in the trailer. And she said that I didn't have any business being in there because we had broken up the previous week again.
It was longer.
Shh, shh. And what did you say to her?
What's going on? Why are you doing this? I'm in Binghamton. I haven't been in Windsor for over an hour. Why are you doing this? And she said, you were there. I'm going to see you in jail. I'm calling the troopers, and slammed the phone down.
Okay. Miss Golden, were you at home?
No, I was at work.
Your brother was at home?
Yes.
Your first name, sir?
Kevin.
Do you remember what day of the week the 17th of February was?
Remember the day? No, I don't.
Do you?
Yes, Tuesday.
Do you remember what time she called you?
7:45.
In the evening?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Golden. I want you to tell me what happened on the 17th of February.
Yeah, I went out to eat.
No, look at me.
Oh, I went out to eat with my girlfriend, came home from dinner, proceeded to enter in the door, and when I bumped into Ray, coming out as I was coming in.
He was coming out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
Just nothing. We were just both like, yeah. And I heard a hissing noise, and that was the propane. So I went to investigate that, and I turned around. By the time I fixed that, he was gone.
What was wrong with the propane?
It was unhooked from the tank. Hooks up to the trailer for heat and cooking.
And it's outside?
Outside, correct.
Now, when you went inside, what did you see?
Nothing really. It was dark.
No, inside the trailer, sir.
Oh, what did I see? Nothing really. He was coming out as I was going in.
Anything missing?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
Anything vandalized?
No.
The only thing unusual that you found was outside the trailer?
Correct.
Mr. Golden, I'm unclear, sir. Was Mr. Wood inside the house or outside the house?
Inside the house, ma'am.
Inside?
Yes.
Is there a key that you used to get inside the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you think Mr. Wood got inside the house?
Had his own key.
Did you have a key to the house?
No, I gave it back to Mindy.
I had asked for it back, and it took him a week to give it back to me.
So you got it back?
Yes, I did.
When, Mr. Wood, did you call Child Protective Services on the Goldens?
I didn't hear from the troopers for a week to 10 days on the charge. And so as soon as I left the troopers.
So you filed the charges with Child Protective Services after these charges were filed against you?
Yes.
No.
No?
No. I have
Really?
copies of the
That
reports.
you see,
the day that he was arrested, February 17th, against me and my brother.
after he was arrested. You have to stop trying to figure out where I'm going, madam. You're not that clever. When did you stop being involved in a relationship, Mr. Wood?
February 7th.
Had you been back to the house since February 7th?
No.
So all the information that you had on February 17th when you filed the charges with Child Protective Services, you had on the 7th when you left. Is
Yes.
that right? And I assume you filed the report with Child Protective Services, Mr. Wood, because you were concerned about the child.
Yes.
And you filed those charges indicating that there was drug use in the home.
Yes, I did.
Now, what were you doing between February 7th when you broke up and February 17th?
As far as what? I don't
I
understand.
want to know if you were incapacitated.
Oh, no.
I want to know if you were hospitalized.
No.
So you want to tell me, sir, why you waited from February 17th to report to Child Protective Services something that you must have felt very strongly about this drug use in front of a child, right?
Right.
So explain to me why you waited 10 days.
I thought maybe it would change.
So what told you that it wasn't going to change when they filed these burglary charges against you? Is that what you're telling me?
No.
You mean it was just a coincidence?
I thought maybe.
You mean it was just a coincidence?
Yes.
That the charges were filed on the same day with Child Protective Services as the charges for burglary were filed against you?
Yes.
That's a coincidence, sir, that I find very hard to swallow. Because if someone is legitimately concerned about the welfare of a child, how old is your child?
He's 3 now. He was 2.
About a 3-year-old child that has no voice, then I assume that this drug use has been going on for a long time, right?
Yes.
That you would have reported it immediately, right?
Right.
You chose to wait serendipitously on the same day as you were arrested for burglary to report it to Child Protective Services.
Yes.
That would be unfortunate. Now, let us move on to your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
He filed another report against myself and my daughter's father. So 2 separate reports to Child
What were you
Protective.
doing with your daughter's father?
Nothing. He doesn't even know my daughter's father.
Well, what did he allege you were doing?
The same thing.
Did you ever smoke marijuana in front of your child?
No, ma'am.
Did your brother?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, you would know that, right?
I would hope so.
Let's get to the counterclaim.
Honestly, I just want him to leave me alone. And I wouldn't have filed the counterclaim if he hadn't done this.
Okay, so you're going to withdraw the counterclaim because you want me to deal with his claim of false arrest?
Please.
Mr. Wood, I believe you were there. How about that?
I wasn't there.
I believe you were. I don't see any other reason, sir. I understand that the grand jury refused to indict you probably because you really didn't do anything while you were there except maybe pull apart the propane so that they would run out of gas. That's what you did. I don't necessarily believe that he saw you inside the house, but I believe that he saw you there. I don't know what you were angry at, but I believe that he saw you there. And I believe that you retaliated, and you retaliated by filing charges against both of them for drug use. I believe that that's an inappropriate way to conduct yourself if you were legitimately concerned about the welfare of an infant. And what you do is you report those concerns immediately to Protective Services, and you don't wait until you have an axe to grind to do it. That's not what Child Protective Services is there for. So I believe that you were there on the 17th of February. I don't think that you were there to burglarize the house. And by the way, Miss Golden, you want him to leave you alone? He better leave you alone. Did you file for a protective order?
Yes, I did. And
Do you have one?
I did. It ran out, but he was leaving me alone, so I didn't renew it.
How long did you have it for?
6 months.
So now he's leaving you alone?
Yes.
Perfect. Let it remain that way. Your lawsuit's dismissed, sir. You were there on the 17th of February. I believe you were there. That's all.
Marilyn James says her ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Melanie Darling, owes for purposely ramming her car.
Well, you two ladies had the misfortune of choosing the same ex-boyfriend. And according to your complaint, Miss James, Miss Darling got in a snit about something, and she keyed your car and then rammed it.
Yes.
Causing some damage. Miss Darling says, well, it was just a little accident. Didn't mean to do any damage to your car. And she was more than willing to pay the deductible if you put the matter in through your insurance, and they paid the bill. Okay, Miss James, this boyfriend, how long ago was he your boyfriend?
5.5 years ago.
You don't have children together?
Nope. We are mutual friends.
You have a mutual friend, or
we're
you
in
are
the same circle of a lot of
Okay.
So we're around each other.
And how long ago, Miss Darling, was Don Juan your boyfriend?
About 1.5 years ago. This has nothing to do with him.
Okay. On what date did this incident happen with your car?
September 3rd.
Where were you?
I was over at a mutual friend's house. He was having a housewarming. We were all over there in the basement. We heard a lot of noise, and we're like, what's going on upstairs? And she comes downstairs, and she walks around, and she's laughing, and her friend comes downstairs, and she says, Melanie, come on, let's go. So she started laughing. She says, ha, 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 I'm not going to do anything. So they go upstairs, and she's still arguing, yelling, screaming upstairs.
Who's
and
yelling?
She is. Her witness is upstairs talking to her, trying to calm her down. The boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, he's on the stairs, and she calls down and says, do you want to speak with her?
What's his first name?
We wanted to keep his
call him
name
the
out of it.
ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. We wanted to keep his name out of it.
It's just ex-boyfriend is 2 words. If I had a first name, then I could just use 1 word. We could save a lot of time. Go ahead.
she calls down here and says, do you want to speak with her? He says no. So she is mad because he doesn't want to speak to her. So she goes outside, and 20 minutes later, my witness comes downstairs and tells me that she just...
Don't tell me what she told you. Which witness came downstairs? You. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Juwan Hamilton.
You don't mind if I use your name, do you?
No.
All right, Mr. Hamilton. On the 3rd, you were outside.
Yes.
What was the defendant saying?
The defendant was just basically saying, why is she here? And she just basically wanted to talk to our friend, which is my friend too, and their ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend?
Right. Okay, so she wanted him to come upstairs and talk to her, and he just all of a sudden came upstairs, and when he came upstairs, she went outside. She followed him outside, and the crowd followed him outside.
Did you go outside?
About 5 to 10 minutes later. When I went outside, what I observed was she walked towards the street. I guess her shoe was in the street, flip-flop, something of that nature. And Marilyn's car was parked 3 to 5 feet away from where she was picking up her shoe. So she said, whose car is this? This her car? She asked me. I said, no response. Then she asked other people, and she took her keys and just keyed her from the rear to the front of the driver's side.
You saw that?
Yes.
Then what happened?
Then I was amazed, and I looked at everybody else that was out there, and she did it again, going back the other way. She walked away and stormed and got in her car. Her car was parked across the street, and she got into the car, and she was with another friend of hers, and they pulled into our friend's driveway. They got out. Commotion was going on again. Don't know the words verbatim. And then after that, she got into the car again and said, well, I'm about to hit this B's car. And she reversed out of the driveway. She put it head on in front of Marilyn's car, and she put it in drive, and she sideswiped the side of it all the way up to maybe, her car was maybe adjacent or parallel to Marilyn's car.
Who was in the car with you?
Brooke, she's not here. She couldn't make it.
She couldn't make it. Is she?
She had work. She couldn't get off of work.
You don't work?
Yes.
You work?
Yeah, I work.
Everybody can get off from work except the lady who was in the car with you. Is there anything funny? You hear anything funny going on here?
I hear a lot of funny things going on.
Just a second. I just wondered why you were laughing.
Oh.
I just answered my questions. I ask questions, you answer them. When you answer them, you stand up.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was there.
Over there. Name?
General Lucas.
Were you in the car with Miss Darling?
No, I wasn't, Judge.
Were you at the party in the basement?
Yes, I was.
Were you outside after the commotion started outside?
No.
Did you see Miss Darling's car hit Miss James' car?
No, I didn't.
Good. You may have a seat now. So, Miss Darling, let me understand this. You brought a witness who was not outside, who did not see your car, hit Miss James's car, and you left the witness home who was in the car with you at the time you hit Miss James's car, something that you claim was an accident.
Right.
That witness you didn't bring, correct?
Right, yeah.
Good. Now, who is this person?
Well, she's my witness. Melanie was drunk that night.
Just a second. Was she there that night?
Yes.
Inside or outside?
She was in the basement with me, and when Joanna came and told me that she rented my car, she came upstairs, and she called the police, and she was there when she tried to run me over.
Tell me your name.
My name is Erica Stiegel.
You know all these people?
I know of the defendant. I don't know her personally.
You were in the house, though, when she came in?
Yes.
When Miss Darling came, did she appear to you to be intoxicated?
Yes.
What indication did you have of her being intoxicated?
Well, first, when she came in, we heard like a lot of like heels like stumping, so we thought it was multiple people. And we looked up because we heard people at the steps, and somebody grabbed her, and all we seen was legs. And so when they finally like let her go, she came down, and she walked around, and she talked to the owner of the house, and she went back upstairs. And from that like little commotion, you could tell she was drunk.
You did not see any collision with Miss Darling's car and Miss James' car. Miss James indicates that you saw something happen afterwards.
Yes.
Would you tell me what you observed?
Well, after we, observed the car, we were right behind like a police station, so we're about to just walk up to the police station. And so we were walking along the sidewalk, and she just came flying around the corner, and everybody just got out the way. And so one of the guys that was at the housewarming came up in his truck, and he was like, guys, just get in the car, I'll take you up there. And so I guess she went around the corner, she came back around, and she swerved, tried to hit the truck. We had to go up on the grass. And he just took us to the police station.
Do you have a police report?
I do. I
I'd
also
like to see
have
it,
pictures.
please. Police report, I'll take a look at the photographs as well.
Okay.
You were the witness, Mr. Hamilton, is that right? The police
ma'am.
indicate that you told them what happened immediately that day.
Yes.
All right, now, Miss Darling, let me hear your version of the events.
Okay, first of all, it's, when I came over there, I came over with my friend. That's my best friend's house that we went over. Me and my ex-boyfriend that broke up maybe a couple of days before that. Has nothing to do with her. I would never even think of her when I think of him. She used to mess with him. That used to be her boyfriend or
Just
whatever
get on
too.
with
So
what
I
happened
wouldn't
on
get
the
into that.
3rd, Miss Darling.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. It's making me mad, this whole thing, because they're trying to make
I
me
don't
like...
care if it's making you mad. It's making me mad.
I just want to express my feelings on
Would you
national
please
TV.
listen to me?
Huh?
You want to express your feelings?
Okay, let me tell you, this is
Go
what
on,
happened.
Dr. Phil.
I went over her house, I got in an argument. I got in an argument with my ex-boyfriend, went outside, I got in my car, I was stopping embarrassed, so I jumped in my car. My car was not parked on the other side of the street, it was actually like in the middle of the street. My keys were inside my car.
Just a second, hold on a second. Your car was parked in the middle of the street.
I got out, we got out because of my friend.
I'm speaking. I have questions. As you're telling me your story, I have to interrupt you. That means you stop talking. Why was your car parked in the middle of the street?
My car was parked in the middle of the street because...
With the keys in it?
Because somebody was in the car. I took my car over there to drop my friend's car off.
Who was in the car?
The house we were over, that's my friend's baby dad. We were dropping her car off at the house. So she stayed in the car, and my other friend, Brooke, was in the car too. And then me and Brooke went in, then we came out. When I came out, I was arguing with my ex-boyfriend. Then I jumped in the car. Then the keys were in the car. Turned it back on or whatever and like pulled off. When I pulled off, I heard something like hit the side of my car. Didn't hit all of it either. It was just like a side swipe real quick or whatever, like hit the tire and pulled off. Then I'm like, oh, we hit something. We stop, look in the rear view, it's her car. So we make a circle around the corner, and when we come back in the corner, I'm looking at her car. That's when...
Just a second. Wait, listen, stop. You recognized that you hit something.
Right.
Stop speaking! When you hit something, you stop. You don't go round. Now, when you realize that you hit a car, and you didn't stop right away, according to you, you did eventually come back, did you?
Yeah, I seen her car.
Just
right, yes.
The answer is yes, you knew whose car it was. What did you do?
I was going to go talk to her.
Don't tell me what you were going to do.
I sat in my car and was trying to get out to talk to her, and Juwan and like the owner of the house came over to the car, and this is Juwan. She called the police on you. If I was you, I'd go in there and fight her and blah, 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 whatever. And then the other guy's telling me to stay in the car, don't get out the car, go home, call her tomorrow, whatever, tell her what happened because they're mad.
Are you employed?
Yes.
You have a cell phone?
I couldn't find my cell phone.
You couldn't find your cell phone?
I threw it at my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, no. You can always find your cell phone.
No, I threw it at my ex-boyfriend. I didn't find it till the next day.
Really?
Right.
So you were really angry. You mean you threw something at him? How many things did you throw at him?
A couple of fists and a cell phone.
Really? So in addition to throwing the cell phone at him, you punched him.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right.
That was before you got into the car that was parked in the middle of the street?
Right.
Good. What you indicate is you were prepared to pay the deductible on her insurance.
Well, I told her I'd help her pay for it. I felt responsible. And
you
I
are
asked her,
responsible. What do you mean you felt responsible? You were responsible.
Well, that's maybe why I was feeling like it, because I was responsible, right? So, anyways, I told her that I'd give her the money, and I'm like, was your deductible 100, 200, 500? And she said, oh, it's 500. And then she told me she had to make a couple more phone calls.
Why? Listen to me. Why in the world would she report this matter to her insurance company? You pay the deductible, 100, 200, 500. Her insurance rates go up for the next 5 years. Why would she do that when you hit her car in a fit of anger? Now, you may not have been angry with her car, but you were certainly angry enough with the boyfriend out there to punch him and to throw at least your cell phone at him. Why would she want to report it to her insurance company?
Well, why did she agree to it?
I don't believe she did.
That's why he's here. That's her
Listen,
friend.
Mr. Smiley, I wouldn't believe it if he told me that today was Tuesday. A little too happy for me.
Just a happy person, Judge.
Get unhappy.
Okay.
Get unhappy. Shh. Your temper, my dear, is going to cost you $2,568. That's what tempers cost.
That's not
an
attitude.
attitude. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Susan Jane Schoonmaker is suing her daughter, 20-year-old Heather Huddleston, for stealing and pawning her wedding rings. Heather claims she had her mother's permission.
Ms. Schoonmaker, this young lady's your daughter, and according to your complaint, she owes you some money. She owes you some money because As a result, according to you, of her drug abuse, she fell behind in her rent. She and her boyfriend, and she came to you for money, and you gave her jewelry to pawn. She pawned the jewelry. She was supposed to get it out. She didn't. You lost the jewelry. You want the money. Is that right?
Well, she also stole my wedding rings out of my jewelry box and pawned them without my knowledge.
For how long has your daughter had a drug problem?
I didn't know that she had one. She told me it was her boyfriend.
When she came to you and asked for money, she told you that the boyfriend had a drug problem?
She said that he was spending money on things he shouldn't and stuff like that.
So then why in the world would you give her jewelry to pawn?
I gave it to her so she would have a place to live. I didn't want her.
Why couldn't she come home?
I have other children that I don't want exposed to the lifestyle that she was doing.
Well, just a second. I thought you said there was nothing wrong with her lifestyle. It was the boyfriend.
And I don't know what her lifestyle was. I know that she was spending money and doing things that she should not be doing.
Then you
That's the reason that
you
she
shouldn't
left.
have given her your jewelry.
You're right.
So then what are you doing in court?
I'm doing it in court because she stole rings from my jewelry box that I had no knowledge of.
I want you to forget about the pawn jewelry.
Right.
And I think that you knew what her lifestyle was, and that if you gave her jewelry to pawn, there was no legitimate expectation of you getting this money back, because drug abusers don't return money. Drug abusers put money in their arms or up their noses. Right, Miss Huddleston?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother says that after she gave you this jewelry to pawn, which you did, you stole some property from her. Did you?
That's not true.
Well, tell me about these wedding rings that she said that you took.
The wedding rings she never wore, and I came upon a time when I needed money for rent, and she told me to go ahead and take the jewelry out of her jewelry box, the wedding rings, to pawn them so I could pay rent, because she never wore them. She hasn't worn them in 5 years.
That's not true.
What other jewelry did she give you?
Previously, she had given me a bag of gold necklaces and a ring that my grandmother had given her. She offered it. I never asked her for money. I told her that I was having problems, and she offered it to me.
That's not true.
What kind of drugs were you or are you involved with?
I was smoking marijuana, and she knew.
And the boyfriend?
Anything and everything.
But not you?
The only thing I ever did was marijuana.
Susan Jane Schoonmaker says her daughter, Heather Huddleston, stole her wedding rings and pawned them.
Still with the boyfriend?
Nope.
Who do you live with now?
I live with friends in Arizona.
Do you work?
Not yet. I'm a student.
You're a student where?
At massage therapy school.
Who pays for it?
I got a grant.
Pays for your living expenses.
I do.
From what?
I have money.
From what?
Doing various jobs. I clean houses and babysit.
Oh, what a bunch of baloney. What a bunch of baloney.
It's true.
My dear Miss Huddleston, you wouldn't know the truth if it came up and cracked you in the face. The wedding rings, when did you find out that they were missing?
When I always go into my jewelry box because I keep my earrings and everything in there. I wasn't wearing the rings because one of the diamonds was loose.
Don't tell me when you weren't wearing them. You weren't wearing them.
I wasn't wearing them, and they were gone. I called her at school. She was going to massage therapy school at the time when this happened, and I said, my wedding rings are gone. Do you know where they are? Have you done? She goes, no, I don't know, but when I come home, I will help you find them. And she came home, and I sat her down, and I said, I'm calling the police. And once the police are involved, if you're involved, you're going to jail because I can't stop it. And she said she took them, and she pawned them, and she thought she could get them back in my jewelry box before I noticed.
That's what drug addicts do.
I know.
Not casual marijuana smokers. How much were the wedding rings pawned for?
$150.
Did you go to the pawn shop to try to get them back?
I didn't know what pawn shop it was, and her boyfriend called me and told me after she left him for no reason, he didn't even know that she had left him, that he went down to the pawn shop because that's where he gave her the money to go down and pick them up and bring them to me. She told me she was on her way to my house to do laundry and bring me my rings and never showed up. And this is the first time I've seen her since then. The pawn shop had sold all the rings a while ago. A guy that she met on the internet.
One guy? Or
One
friend?
guy with his old girlfriend and his baby.
How old is she?
She'll be 21 in December. I've tried to help her. I don't know how else to help her. And I feel like she needs to start paying for the things that she's doing. And I just thought here at least she would start seeing what her actions are going to start becoming. They're going to get worse. I don't want to have to pick her up in jail. And I won't.
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you're ready to turn your life around.
That's what I'm hoping.
When did she leave home?
She left home when she was 19.
You go to live with this boyfriend?
She knew him a week and left.
Who else lives at home with you?
My 17-year-old daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, and my 10-year-old son.
You know what these rings were appraised for that you took?
I went in and I got an estimate on what it would cost to replace all of the rings.
Not all the rings.
No, I know, but it has just them separated. My wedding ring and my engagement ring set is on here. $28.99 for the engagement ring and $880 for the wedding ring.
Are you still married to the man who gave you the rings?
Yes, I am. We've lived together for 16 years.
He's not her father?
He's not her father. But you'd never know the difference.
Anything you want to say?
She told me that those rings were remnants of an unhappy marriage and that she was happy to get rid of them. And that's why she let me pawn them. And
I never said that.
I just think it's really funny, you know, she was helping me out, and now because she's getting in trouble from my stepdad and my grandma, she's got to turn around and blame it on me, and I just don't think that's fair.
What do you think is fair?
I didn't do anything wrong. She gave it to me.
You did do something wrong. You came to your mother and you said, I got a drug addict boyfriend, I'm behind in the rent, you were living a lifestyle that was inappropriate, and you came to your mother, who clearly is not a rich lady, because if she was a rich lady, she would have had the money to give you for the rent. She didn't, so all she had was this bag of jewelry, and you're a big girl. You chose to be a big girl. You chose to move out of your house and live on your own.
I never asked her to help me. She offered to help.
How would she know that you needed anything unless you came to her and said, I don't have rent? Listen to me. How would she know that you needed money unless you came to her and told her that you didn't have rent money?
Because I came over one day and I was upset. And like any caring mother would, she asked what was wrong. At least I thought she was caring. Sorry.
You got to do the right thing. You still have time. If you continue to make bad choices in your life, you know what's going to happen. You're going to end up being, instead of a 20-year-old bum, a 40-year-old bum. If you lie down with dirt, you get dirty. Did you ever hear that expression? Did everybody say anything like that to you? If you lie down in dirt, you're going to get dirty. And it sounds to me like you went from the frying pan into the fire. It's not too late. You're still a young girl. But you better start making right choices. Because if you don't make right choices, you're going to end up a 40-year-old dirty girl instead of a 20-year-old dirty girl. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Robert Burridge is suing his ex-fiancée, Carla Jones, for money loaned and forged checks. Carla is countersuing, claiming Robert made false accusations to her probation officer.
Mr. Burridge, Miss Jones used to be your living girlfriend?
She was my fiancée.
And according to your complaint, she owes you some money. First for a loan, for insurance, well over a year ago. And then you claim that at some point she forged some checks.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you claim she's got some of your personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jones says none of them were loans. She did, in fact, sign your name to checks. You knew about that. You did not report those forged checks, according to you, when you found out about them. But you continued to live together as a couple. But when you broke up, you, according to you, called her parole officer. You're on parole for something?
I'm off now.
And you called her parole officer to report the forged checks. Is that right?
Yes.
Why'd you do that for?
Because she was forging checks while on parole, and
No, look at me, look at me.
It was a violation.
Let's get a timeline.
It's a violation.
Mr. Barish, listen to me. Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Excuse me.
According to you, it was in October of 2004 that you found out that she had signed your name to some checks.
Yes.
How much in total were the checks that she signed?
$2,900.
And what were they for?
They were made out to her, signed by her, and cashed by her, and deposited to her account.
Okay. Now, when did you find out about these checks? So was that in October?
It was after she moved out in October.
So after you found out about these forged checks, how long did it take you to call her parole officer?
It took me until March of 2005.
Okay. Let's go. Checks, $2,900 worth.
No, nothing was stolen from him. No forged checks. We would pay our bills together. I would tally up how much utilities were or groceries, and I'd say, I need X amount of dollars. And he'd say, okay, go ahead and get a check. write for that, deposit it in there, and pay the bills. And I
Deposit it where?
Into my checking account. I'd always call him at work, or he would be home when we did it, and he would say, go put that in your checking account and then pay the bills, because I paid everything online.
What do you want parole for? Anything to do with
I'm
checks?
not on parole. I was on probation.
Probation, anything having to do with checks?
No, it was for a DUI.
Oh. How long were you living together?
About 2.5 years.
Who paid the bills, sir?
The arrangement was that I paid the rent because it was a considerable amount of money, and she picked up the tab for the utilities and the food.
What precipitated your leaving in October of 2004?
Well, the relationship was kind of going sour, and in August of 2004, we had been going to some counseling to see if we could work through some of the issues. And I realized in my heart that it just wasn't going to work out for me, that I wasn't going to be able to go through with the relationship. And of course, he was very upset. And I told him at the end of the lease, which was November 1st of 2004, that I'd be moving out by then and getting my own place.
Robert Burrich says ex-fiancée Carla Jones stole money by forging his check, countersuing, claiming Robert made false accusations to her probation officer.
Okay. When for the first time, Ms. Jones, did the plaintiff confront you about these checks?
Towards the end of the year after I had moved out, we were still talking to each other, and he would come over sometimes on the weekends, and I just felt really sorry for him.
Just tell me what he said to you about the checks.
He called me on the phone close to Christmas. I said I didn't want to see him anymore. I said, I don't want you coming over anymore. I don't want to see you at all. It's done. I don't even want to be friends with you. And that's when he threatened he was going to go to the police station and tell them that I forged these checks while we were together. And I said, you know, that's a lie. How can you go tell a lie like that? And he says, I can say whatever I want. And then in March, I finally just told him, I said, I can't see you anymore. We're kind of seeing each other on and off, on and off. Well, he told me he was going to go to the police and do this. So I guess the next day, which was March 14th.
So the first time he spoke to you about it was in December of 2004.
Threatening to do this.
On what date did you contact her probation officer?
It was the 15th of March.
What happened between December and March, sir?
I was investigating the
You already knew about it, and you confronted her with them. And if you had been concerned that she had forged your name to checks and you felt that it was the right thing to do to notify her probation officer, why didn't you do it in December or January or February?
I was hesitant. I wanted the relationship to go on. During the counseling sessions, the counselor asked me if I loved her, and I said yes, and the counselor asked her, did she love me? And she said she didn't know, and the counselor said, did you love him when you took that engagement ring? And she said, I don't know. And I wanted this relationship to last. It was very important to me. She was very important to me. And I figured that the less waves, the better the chances of the relationship working.
But it didn't work, sir.
It didn't, no, it didn't work.
It didn't work. And the response to it not working is not to behave in a retaliatory way.
That's right.
The response to it not working is saying, you went to counseling, she didn't deceive you. She said, we'll go to counseling, we'll see if we can get it to work. And she was being honest. She said, I don't know my feelings. She wasn't trying to be hurtful. If she wanted to be hurtful, she wouldn't have gone to counseling with you.
She deceived me when she accepted the engagement ring.
No, you know, you're talking about there's hard evidence and then there's soft evidence. You know, the divorce rate in this country is 52%. Now, all of those people who divorce, when they sit back, you know, a year later, 6 months later, 5 years later, they say, gee, I wonder if I really loved him. I wonder if I really loved her when I walked down the aisle. You know, or was it something else? It was, you got to get married, or, you know, I fell in love with the beautiful face, or I fell in love with the bank account, whatever it was. Was it really him? I'm really not sure. You know, I really don't know in my heart anymore. That's what people say to themselves.
It was the bank account.
Well, it's all a package. You know, she's an attractive lady, right?
Yes, she is.
She's a very attractive lady, well-spoken. Do you think that if she was an unattractive lady and not well-spoken, you would have been attracted to her? No. You may have gotten to know her better and said, gee, she's got a wonderful soul. But what attracted you to her initially was she's a pretty lady, she seems intelligent, and she's well-spoken, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Part of your package is that you had some dough. That's it. You just have to accept that. And you know, I'm not such a genius that I figured this out myself, because Donald Trump's wife was interviewed recently, and they said to her, would you be married to him if he wasn't Donald Trump, if he wasn't who he is? And she said, you think he'd be married to me if I didn't look like this? Do yourself a big favor. Put a period. It didn't work out. You both gave it your best shot. You should not have called a probation officer. It was a nasty thing to do. And you should not have waited to see the result of this counseling before you decided that what she did was criminal, because then I find your motives suspect.
The reason we actually separated was in August. I told her that her drinking had become a problem, and if she didn't stop drinking, we were not going to renew the lease and live together.
But even after that, you went to counseling with her, because according to you, you loved her.
I did love her.
What I'm telling you is, it didn't work out. That's very sad. Looks like a nice guy. I hope you find another nice one.
She's engaged to another guy already.
Well, then you should look up and say, thank you, God, I didn't make a mistake. Right? Instead of suing her. The case is dismissed, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ronnie Garcia and Anthony Blanks are suing Anthony's cousin, Cassandra Carey, for a stolen car stereo and for the return of their pit bull, Coco.
This is your cousin, is that right?
Yes.
And your name is?
Anthony Blanks.
This is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend. And you live together?
Yes.
And your cousin was living with you?
Yes.
Does your claim that she borrowed your car with your permission, and while she had your car, the stereo and amps and whatever was stolen out of the car, you believe she should be responsible for that?
Yes.
And also, when she left, without notice to you, she left and she took one of your dogs?
Yes.
Ms. Carey says that she took the car to school and the car was broken into and the stereo taken. It's really not her fault. It was a criminal matter. And that the dog was hers. Let's deal with the easy stuff first. Let's deal with the dog first. When was this dog purchased?
June of '06.
Who went to purchase the dog?
All three of us.
How many dogs were purchased?
2.
How many had you intended to purchase?
1.
Why did you purchase 2?
I couldn't decide which one I wanted.
Why do you think that Miss Carey would believe that the one that she took with her was her dog?
I have no idea.
Well, why don't you tell me?
June being right before my 21st birthday of '06, I fell in love with the dog the moment I saw her when we arrived at the home. And I wanted the dog. It was stated there at the woman's house that it would be an early birthday present, and I was to help with the other dog that we purchased, along with the dogs that were already at the house prior to the purchase.
Mr. Blanks, was your niece living with you?
No, she was there off and on the weekend. Actually, for the day of her birthday, she was in Vegas or Reno. I don't remember. I can't recall which one.
You mean after August?
Yeah, she was back with her mother.
Where was the dog?
At my home, at mine and my girlfriend's home.
Okay. Were you living with your mother?
I was back and forth between the two, yes.
And when you went to your mother, where was the dog?
At their house.
When did you take the dog?
On March 27th.
You returned the dog within 5 days. Do you understand?
I'm not giving that dog
Oh,
back.
yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Listen, if I felt as if it was your dog, there's no question that dog would be with you. But when you have a dog that's yours, it's with you 24/7. Not when you go back to your mother, you leave the dog with them, they take care of the dog, then you come back, then you go to your mother, and then you come back, and the dog stays with them. You don't do that. That's not fair to the dog. I don't care about you. You are irrelevant. The dog has a companion, and this was the dog's home. And just because you may have been moving and said, well, now I'm going to take my dog, the dog was living in a perfectly comfortable place for a year. You can't uproot an animal like that. Go buy yourself a new dog.
When I tried to take the dog, when I moved out initially the first time, I wasn't allowed to. And
Then sue them. Then what you do is go to court. You were over 21. Take them to court and say, you have my dog, I want to take my dog. But instead you came back and forth and lived with them, and then you didn't live with them. You also borrowed their car, right? So you weren't angry with them. You have to return the dog to them. It's their dog. Go buy yourself another one. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm cutting an order, so they will come with a marshal to take the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You know where she lives?
No.
Oh, I'll find out. Where do you live?
I'm between residents right now.
Where's the dog? Don't look over there. Where is the dog?
She's at my boyfriend's house.
Where is your boyfriend?
He's here.
Here?
Here.
Well, who's taking care of the dog now?
We paid someone to babysit her.
At the house?
Yes.
Perfect. What's his address? Now! I don't hear you.
3700.
That's where the dog is. We'll cut an order. Take a marshal and go pick her up.
Thank you.
Next. Tell me about when the car got broken into. What was the date?
The car was broken into March 20th. The report was filed on March 21st.
Can I see the report?
There's two. There's a supplement and an original.
Whose cell phone was taken?
Mine.
Was there an alarm system on this car?
Yes.
Had you turned the alarm on?
Yes.
And the car was locked?
No, the locks, when I was issued the vehicle from him, there was no seat belts, nor did the locks on the doors work.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, did you pay for the use of the car?
Yes,
the 2
ma'am,
months
I
that
did.
you had the car, is that right?
She paid for
February.
and she used it for a total of 3 months. The first time she used it, she took it to her boyfriend's house, and I told her I didn't want my vehicle there at his house because it was way out there in case something happened, like the breaking in issue. It would be a lot harder for us to deal with. I had to go basically steal my car back because she was in Reno again with him, drunk, and brought it back to my home. Her mother called me from Vegas, begging, pleading to let me just use it so that she could finish school, which I'd help her get into, to go to school and to work, which I helped her get a job at. So after about an hour on the phone with my aunt, I finally agreed to let her use the car just to go to work and school.
Fine. Who do you think should be responsible for putting the car back in the same condition as when you took it?
Initially, when we sat down to make the agreement as far as me taking the car, he stated that if anything happened to the car, that's why there was insurance on the vehicle. So I would assume it would be the insurance. Being as it was in my possession, I do accept some form of liability as far as the belongings being taken.
Good. How much was the new stereo?
About 150.
Good. And the amp?
It's about 250, 300.
You have homeowner's insurance?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. File it with your homeowner's insurance. With regard to this is not her fault. She would pay for it unless you had homeowner's insurance, but you have homeowner's insurance, so put it through your homeowner's insurance. It covers the contents of your car. You know that. That's why you smiled before at me. But you go get your dog back. Now. Do you understand? Go buy yourself a new pet. I just saved you $200. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Tyrone Smith claims ex-girlfriend Christy Bruffett lied to him about the paternity of her child. Christy is countersuing, claiming Tyrone has been harassing her.
Mr. Smith, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you and leading you to believe that you were the father of her child. You want attorney's fees and all kinds of compensatory damages. Ms. Bruffett says that you knew all along that you were not the baby's biological father, and she is counterclaiming for harassment and other stuff. I assume that there was a time that two of you were in a relationship.
Yes.
When was that?
2001.
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, it was in 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
My daughter was born January 7th, 2001.
Were you together at the time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I'm going to go to you. Your answer suggests that Mr. Smith was aware all along that he was not the child's biological father. I'm going to hear your explanation with regard to that.
Yes, he was, Your Honor. We had started dating briefly when we were working together in December.
December of 2000?
Of 99.
December of 99.
Yes. He had left Minneapolis and went to Chicago for what he said would be a brief period of time when we first started dating, in turn being quite a few months.
How many months?
He left towards the end of January of 2000. He did not return until close to the end of April of 2000.
Is that right?
No. Ain't no way Chrissy told me that that little girl was mine, and I signed.
Whether you went to Minneapolis.
No. I was working in Minnesota, so ain't no way I left.
Okay, keep going, Miss Bruffett.
My child was conceived at the very beginning of April by Matthew Moore. When he returned, it was the end of April. He had known of me and Matthew's relationship, but was
Don't
persistent.
tell me what he knew. Tell me what you said to him.
I had told him that I was in a relationship when he had came back from Chicago. Matthew, in turn, towards the end of May, had left and decided he was moving to Florida, and me and Tyrone had started dating again then. But he knew I told him that I was pregnant before he had came back from Chicago in a phone conversation.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, ma'am.
Keep going.
Okay. Up through the pregnancy, we were together, we were dating, all the way up and through my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, he had told me that throughout the whole time that he wanted to be a father to her. He would be that figure because Matthew was not going to return from Florida. Tyrone had told me that he wanted to be the one to step up to the plate. He would take care of her. We would be together. We had plans on being engaged or being married in the future. He had told me then that he didn't want his family to know he wasn't her father because they already did not approve of me and his relationship.
Yana, she... Okay.
So at that point, we had decided that he was going to be her father figure. When she was born, I had told him that I wanted to leave the birth certificate blank in the case that Matthew were to ever return, and that was only fair. And he said that that wouldn't be viable to his family or mine. We argued back and forth about it.
How did this all play out then after 2001? That's what I want to know. Because right now, the child is 6 years old.
Exactly.
And so I want you to tell me, Mr. Smith, what happened 6 years later that brings you to court today?
Well, I was served papers for child support, and I hired myself a lawyer because I wanted
Who
to...
filed the petition for child support?
No,
He did, Your Honor.
She applied for welfare.
No, I didn't, Your
Child
Honor. I
support.
work full-time. I got papers in the mail being served that I was the defendant in a case regarding him taking me to court for visitation. I have to pay child support in our county in order to have visitation with my child. He brought the action, Your Honor. He is the plaintiff on both of these.
Well, there was a motion in Hennepin County for child support.
That was an action that he brought with
He brought
a
an
visitation.
action for what? For child support? To pay child support?
In our
You
county,
brought
we
an
have
action
to.
to pay child support, sir?
No.
I never heard of that. I've been a judge for a very long time. See, Ms. Bruffett, my problem is he's fighting the child support in this action.
Exactly.
He's fighting it. He doesn't want to pay it. He's saying, listen, I have no money left. You know, I have a 5-month-old baby. I live. Here's my rent. Here's my lease on my apartment. Here's what I earn.
Yep.
I can't afford to pay any more child support, so I don't get the fact that he petitioned the court for child support. Now, why do you keep looking for her, sir?
Ain't nobody looking for Chrissy.
You weren't looking for her?
No.
I have
For what
police reports
reason?
to that effect, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the police report, please. The only indication here that's interesting is he said he wanted to come over to see the child they have in common. And victim, that would be you, advised that he couldn't come over and that he's not supposed to be calling. So he said, I want to come over to see my daughter. And you said he couldn't. You didn't say it's not your daughter.
Ain't no way I called.
Shut.
Okay.
I do also have that actually in a court finding paper that when we were in court in front of a judge for this order for protection 2004, that I was very adamant through all of that that she was not his child, and I just wanted him to leave me alone.
That I want to see.
That's all I've ever asked, is that he just leave us alone.
Sir, what I want to know is why you're here now in 2007 when in 2004 she clearly told you that you were not the father of this child.
Right.
She told you that.
Exactly.
3 years ago.
Yep.
What woke you up now?
What woke me up now was, I don't know, it took
Your
me,
Honor, he has been harassing me for 6.5 years. This is just another form. I'm sorry.
What woke me up, I don't know.
Well, why don't you say something to try to wake me up, sir? She told you at least 3 years ago. Listen to me. At least 3 years ago.
Right.
At least 3 years ago, she insisted before a judge that you are not the father of the child.
Why she didn't let that be known to the child support people then?
Listen, I don't see any of those papers. I mean, you don't have those papers. What you gave me were papers where, in the matter of the child, you are the plaintiff.
Exactly.
You're the plaintiff, not the county. You're the plaintiff.
Otherwise, Your Honor, he have papers to the effect of Hennepin County.
And that's
Tyrone.
July of 2006.
Exactly.
July 2006.
Listen, if you're going to agree with me once more, I'm going to throw you out and grant this petition. Do you understand? Okay. Good. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost too. You got me lost too.
Well, I'm kind of lost too. I mean, you were told by a judge 3 years ago that she says you're not the father of the child. And now you want attorney's fees and court costs and everything else for an attorney that you just hired 3 years later in order to get visitation and have a blood test done, and you want the blood test done. She told you weren't the father.
Yana, I had to hire that lawyer because I didn't have an address. I didn't know how to serve her
Your
her
Honor,
papers.
my address is private from him.
She put an order of protection on me, so ain't no way I can get her address.
What did you need her address for?
So she can get served her papers.
What
for my,
papers?
For
I don't want to hear you. Don't you get it?
To see, visitation
You know, I don't
to see
think that you're worried about him because you keep interrupting him. You know, if you were cowering and worried about him, as you indicate you are in your answer, then you wouldn't be freely contradicting him. Maybe that'll get you to be quiet. How much support did you pay over the last 6 years for your daughter?
6 years, I just...
Alleged daughter.
How much did I pay? About $1,000 bucks.
Show me.
That was my daughter. Ain't no way I'm going to keep a receipt.
Show me.
You know, I did that from the kindness of my heart. You know, ain't no way I'm going to buy that little girl something and say, I want it back.
No, I didn't say buy her something. I said support. You weren't living together for 6 years. Support.
You got me on that one.
Now, when was the last time, Miss Bruffett, that you alleged that Mr. Smith bothered you?
The last incident was the last job that I had to leave because of him when I filed for that last order for protection
Would you give
in
me the
2004.
date, please?
It was February of 2004.
Well, that's a long time ago. It's over. Put a period. Finished.
Yes.
Not a good idea, if I believe you, which I'm sort of on the fence about. Not a good idea to insert somebody else's name on a birth certificate that is not biologically related to a child. It confuses the child. Put your hand down. Do you understand?
I do.
Unfair.
I do.
Unfair. Look what happened. She'll go try to get a kidney from him. And what'll happen when she's 18? Ridiculous. Mr. Smith, you are finally free.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you.
I am. I dodged the aunt.
And Miss Bruffett would really like you to leave her alone.
Been there, done that. Long time
And
ago.
I think that you're going to leave her alone.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. I got a wife and a son that needs me more than anybody, you know.
The case is dismissed. It's over. Finished. Put a period. So is yours. Finished. Over. It's dismissed. Goodbye.
Thanks, John.
20
Trẻ sơ sinh hay vặn mình nó là tình trạng tình trạng như thế nào và làm tại sao lại trẻ sơ sinh lại hay vặn mình, thì chúng ta thấy là vặn mình là một trong những cái biểu hiện của trẻ sơ sinh, và rất nhiều ông bố bà mẹ nếu như mà con mình vặn mình thường xuyên thì sẽ có rất là nhiều điều thắc mắc và băn khoăn và sẽ tìm mọi cách để tìm hiểu xem là cái tình trạng đó như thế nào. Vậy thì cái tình trạng vặn mình ở trẻ sơ sinh là tình trạng gì? Trẻ sơ sinh vặn mình là cái tình trạng rất thường gặp, có thể xuất hiện ở trẻ ngủ hoặc là thức với những biểu hiện trẻ gồng người vặn mình, đỏ mặt trong vài phút rồi hết. Tình trạng này xảy ra phổ biến khi bé dưới 2 tháng tuổi, sau đó thì sẽ thuyên giảm. Khi trẻ được 3 đến 4 tháng tuổi là sẽ giảm đi. Các nghiên cứu về sinh lý giấc ngủ của trẻ sơ sinh cho thấy giấc ngủ của trẻ được phân thành giấc ngủ hoạt động, tức là giấc ngủ đực nông, và giấc ngủ im lặng, tức là giấc ngủ sâu. Thì trong đó giấc ngủ nông trẻ thường hay bị vặn mình, giật mình, rên phát ra tiếng e. Giấc ngủ sâu, bé ngủ sâu không cử động và rất khó để đánh thức. Vậy thì tại sao trẻ lại hay vặn mình? Thì trong tình trạng trẻ sơ sinh vặn mình được giải thích là do vỏ não và các tế bào thần kinh và các thể vân vẫn chưa được phát triển hoàn thiện. Do đó khi tiếp xúc với môi trường bên ngoài, các hoạt động dưới vỏ sẽ chín như thế hơn. Điều này sẽ giúp trẻ thích nghi với môi trường mới ngoài tử cung của mẹ. Trẻ sơ sinh ngủ hay vặn mình thì được chia thành trường hợp ngủ do sinh lý và do bệnh lý. Lý do từ sinh lý thì trường hợp trẻ sơ sinh hay vặn mình và ọc sữa do nguyên nhân sinh lý thì cha mẹ không cần phải quá là lo lắng. Khi trẻ được 3 đến 4 tháng tuổi thì sẽ tự hết. Trong khi đó thì nếu như mà trẻ sơ sinh vặn mình đến từ nguyên nhân bệnh lý thì trong một số trường hợp trẻ vặn mình liên tục có thể là dấu hiệu cảnh báo một số bệnh lý tiềm ẩn như là rối loạn tiêu hóa này, đầy hơi, đau bụng, trào ngược dạ dày, hạ canxi máu, bé mắc bệnh lý về gan, bị vàng da sơ sinh, rối loạn thần kinh bẩm sinh, dị ứng, gây ngứa da, côn trùng đốt hoặc là chui vào tai của bé. Thì đó là những có hai cái nguyên nhân, hai cái tình trạng trẻ vặn mình. Thì nếu như mà do bệnh lý thì nó sẽ tự hết, còn do sinh lý thì nó sẽ tự hết. Còn do bệnh lý thì bố mẹ cần phải tìm được nguyên nhân vì sao để khắc phục cho con. Đấy. Và cái tình trạng trẻ sơ sinh vặn mình thì nó là cái tình trạng rất là phổ biến, nhưng mà để có thể kịp thời phát hiện được cái tình trạng trẻ của con như thế nào thì bố mẹ cần phải theo sát con.